This is a review of a few things and some answers to questions that people have asked me. So if you have questions and you text or email them to me, I try to add them to the video next time I'm in. So I have, you can see along the row, I have multiple different things up. But I wanted to remind you about fixing annotations and folding closed dart end. So if you've got an upside down annotation and you want to fix it, remember you can go into Edit, Annotation, choose it, and then rotate it. And if you still don't like it like that, then you can move it into a better place and then say OK. That will only stay that way if you come up and save over. Okay, so now that's a permanent change. And then I wanted to remind you about folding close your dart ends. So when you go to add seam allowance to things, I could add seam allowance to this, and I'll show you what I don't want first so you can just watch. So advanced, define, choose the piece to add the seams, and I'm going to put 0.5 on it, but you will choose whatever you want to. But you see how it fills in with seam allowance right there? Sometimes that works okay in a factory for multiple reasons. But when you're doing your test sample, it makes it impossible to change the dart and make adjustments. So I don't like to do it that way unless I have a really compelling reason. So for your homework assignments, instead of doing it that way, and maybe we could change it now, we'll try it, but sometimes you have to go back. So if I stay in advanced and come up here to darts and fold, that's folding closed this dart end right here, right up there in the armhole. When you fold it closed in beginning pattern making, you fold it on the side that's closest to down so that the dart ends up, the flap is down or toward the center. So that's what I'm expecting. You want to make sure up over here in the area that you read that it says to include the fold lines and the notches, or the dart will just completely disappear. So if I undo that and show you that, when I come back to advanced and darts and fold, if I don't have these two boxes checked and I choose the side to fold to, then there's nothing. So I can undo it right now, but you can't fix it later. So I did undo, advanced darts, fold, check the include fold lines and include notches, and choose the side that is the flap is folding down to. So don't choose the up one. Should I even make that mistake? Yeah, that's what happens when you do it the wrong way, because it's expecting to fold into here instead. So we don't want that either. So that's another undo. And back to darts, fold, close dart end, check your boxes, choose the dart on the side to fold to, come to the down side, and then it's correct. All right, I also have seam allowance going down my center front. I don't want that, so I'm just going to do define again and choose that line and say 0, and now it's okay. I have also had people that want to do something asymmetrical for their final projects. And if you're going to do something asymmetrical, you're going to want to open it down the fold. But before we go there, I'm going to finish this. So this is getting it ready to go to the plotter. I need to swap my seam allowance, because if the dotted lines are on the outside, the plotter sometimes will plot the pieces overlapping. So once you get it to this stage, you've defined your seam allowance, you've got it on, you're all finished with it. Don't do this until you're all finished and ready to send it to the plotter. Come up to advanced seam and then say swap and choose the piece and say OK. And now the seam allowance is dotted on the stitching line and solid on the outer edge, and it will go to the plotter nicely. This isn't ready because this particular piece doesn't have the extension added to it. Some of you have started your final project, some of you haven't. The ones we're working on now are to teach you how to do things. Ooh, what's that? There's a problem. Oh, it looks like we've got some screen garbage here. Okay, I came up and under advanced seam swap, I swapped my seam allowances back so that the notches appear to be aligned with the dart again. And the problem is that I didn't go through and merge my lines or combine my lines. So I'm going to go to Modify, Line, Combine. So after you finish that dart, you need to combine the lines all into one section, so there's less information to keep track of. And now that I've combined the lines, I can come back, and I can't do this under line, I have to do this under advanced seam swap because this is a seam. So if you're touching a seam, it will only work if you're in the seam area in the advanced section. So swap and choose the piece and say OK. And now I don't have a screen garbage problem. My darts just are nice and continuous the way they're supposed to be. I do have a couple of grading things happening right there. They're not going to hurt anything. You can leave them alone, but if you want to know how to get rid of them, if they don't belong there, I would actually rather see them in a different place. But you could go up to Edit Point Information and choose the point and make a change, but usually you'll have a grade point there. Okay, and the other thing we wanted to add to this would be buttonholes. And your blouse that has the extension on it, we'll put it on that. So I'm going to delete that from the screen because I don't want to update it. And does this have it? Nope. File, open. This is the one I want. So I want my buttons and buttonholes not to be down the center front where this line is, but to be straight down from that notch that's a ½ inch over. And I've already deleted mine. I could redraw a straight line down the center front, but I'm just going to highlight the notch and extend a line down. So create a 2-point line. I know it would be nice if I thought of these things before you deleted stuff, but I didn't. Select the first point for the line, and I'm going to choose that notch point. So I've waited until that square is highlighted, then I'm going to release, and I'm going to right click and say horizontal because I want my buttons to go down that line. And when it gets folded, then this will be the back side of the buttonholes, but I'm going to mark button or buttonhole. I want my first one to start 5/8 of an inch down, and then I'm going to say I want 6 buttons, but I don't want them to go below here because I find those are annoying when I lean against the table and they're on the inside of my skirt. So if my waist is about here, I do want a button below that, but I don't want to go any further than that. So to get ready for putting in my buttons, I'm going to shorten this line to where I want it to be. So I'm going to modify line adjust. I find that I use that a lot. So I'm going to shorten this to here. Do I want it there? I think I could shorten it a little more. There. And then this one, I actually want it to be 5/8 of an inch below here. So it seems to me this is 1/4 and then 5/8, so I need to shorten this line 7/8 from this direction. And I could watch it over here. I'm going to try that. No, it's not doing anything. So I'm going to cancel and switch to value, the end point, and then I'm going to go positive 0.875, which is 7/8. 0.875, 7/8. Did I say 7/8 or 5/8? I'm turning into such an adorable little old lady. Okay, so my first button is going to be 5/8 of an inch down and 5/8 of an inch over. That's just standard, classic. If you want yours in a different place, you can put it in a different place, but that's standard. So now I have my line length. I want my first button here and my last button here. And I'm going to go into create multiple. So I'm under points. Create, point, multiple, add points on a line. You can add them at a distance, but I want to add points on a line. So select the line to receive the points, but I have all these things. The ends right now, none are checked, but I want both ends to have them. That's why I decided on the length of my line. And I want them to be marks, not notches or drills. So I'm going to choose my line, and my thumbtacks are already in the right place. So I could have moved the thumbtack to here and moved the thumbtack to there if I had wanted to. But then I would have had to measure again, and I like the way I did it, but you do have options. Okay. And how many buttons do I want? Enter the number of points between the start and the end. I forget. If I say 6, does that mean it's going to give me 8? I think it does. So the number of points in between start and end is going to be 4 if I want 6 total. So 4. And I have an X on the beginning and the end point and 4 in the middle. So I have 6 evenly spaced buttons starting at the top and going down below the waist so that my blouse stays tucked in. And if I gain a little weight, this will give me more space. Okay. And it looks like they're 1, 2, 3, they're almost 4 inches apart. But I didn't have to do the math. So I double checked this part, and because I had been playing with explaining things about notches, it's a little messy. But if you just combine your lines, everything should turn out fine. And I will go over the notch thing in a different video.